It's another video, another reaction, a continuation of the no clip documentary from yesterday's video of the documentation of Warframe. And last video, I made a promise, which was to show off my profile of playing Dark Sector, which of course I didn't do that, which I forgot. No excuse there. I actually forgot. And also in the meantime, when that at the end, I don't even know when exactly. Literally everybody, I mean everybody, decided to come home at once. So there was that. So you literally got everybody coming through the door, all the doors at once, from the back, front, garage. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on here? Like, is this supposed to be a surprise party? But it wasn't. But you know, it is what it is. So with that there, that got me distracted. So I was just like, you know what? Let me just push out the video and all that stuff, blah blah blah. Right. So that's what I did. Luckily, no one's home, so I could just do this quietly. But I am going to show you guys what I told you yesterday that I promised to show, which was me showing proof that I've played Dark Sector. Okay. These games are old. You know, dude. What is it? What is it? Leave a like if you played, what is it, 50 Cent Blood on the Floor, okay? I played Fear 3, Rock Band 2, Duke Nukem Forever. You know, Aliens vs Predators, Resident Evil 5, great games. And then right here, Dark Sector. I told you I've played this game. Part of me really wishes I could click on what achievements I've gotten, but it doesn't show. It doesn't let me click on any of them probably because these are all 360 games and they just don't let you see them for some whatever reason. But I have gotten the I think the one of the achievements for beating it on the hardest difficulty, which honestly I briefly remember of it being pretty annoying. But yeah, but there it is. There's the thing I promised to show off that I actually played Dark Sector years ago, which I didn't even know was made by Digital Extremes. But let's get on with the video. Part 2. This is, I think this the first part was just about the creation of the company, and then the start of the game. But I think this here is really about the actual game itself. But all right, here we go.
So, the elephant in the room, at least for those of you who have never played it, what exactly is Warframe?
At its heart, Warframe is a loot shooter.
Oh,
you
the
play
ghoul
short
purge?
levels really fast to gather items that help you unlock new Warframes.
I'm gonna lie to you. For anyone who likes a ghoul purge, what is it? I absolutely love it. What is it? The ghoul purge? No. It's the fallen star? It's the fallen star when they have that, because you could get a buttload of forma, a buttload of it. It's fantastic.
These Warframes are varied around combat and elemental themes.
Oh my god, look at that
allowing you to
ODUI,
use
man.
entirely different powers, weapons, and ways of movement. Some are melee-centric, others utilize magnesis, electronics, or spores. One bard class plays music to buff other players, music that can be written using an in-game sequencer. You can play single-player or co-op. There's a PvP component, an open-world area, clans, a story, customizable pets.
Here's the thing. Even though there is a PvP component, no one plays it. I think the only time when they do it is when they're having some sort of event, and that's really it. Like, let's be honest, no one does the PvP. I think it's just because the way how the game is designed is more of a PvE than PvP. They tried it, and
frames, ships, and loads more.
The Warframe of today is strange and varied, a bizarre game built atop the foundations of a very different experience. So, to understand the game as it exists today, we must first go back to that early prototype to a digital extremes that had 9 months to make a free-to-play experience that might just save the company.
So our company was focused on finishing up publisher stuff, pitching new stuff, things that were getting canceled, stuff like that. It was kind of imploding, right? It's no fault of the people that worked on those things. I mean, the ebb and flow of the economy, a publisher has a bad quarter, who's the first to go? Well, the contractors, and that's us. So that 9 months was
True
trying to
that,
build
man.
as many of the beginning Warframes as possible so that we could have, you know, a minimum set, and then trying to invent an infrastructure for this kind of so-called back end, because we have MMO light features, account persistence. None of that stuff we had any understanding of. You know, building all the stuff you need for independence. Now you got to make your own website. Now you have to make your own, you know, customer support portal. How do you accept payments from people when you sell them a founder's pack? How do you get certification to take credit cards from people?
Oh my God.
Like back end infrastructure.
Don't tell me all those computers are supposed to be like for servers or some shit. Dude, that is some rinky dink ass setup. I really hope not. Maybe that's for like rendering or something, but oh my God, dude, that's so wow.
Infrastructure and database stuff, while the artist, right, you know, scrambled to make as much of that kind of procedural level stuff that we can do to support, you know, keeping people interested.
Minimum viable product. It was the smallest thing we could put out that people could play, that could people get an idea what we're trying to do. And slowly we've bolted on parts and added things to it. And I think that's how we treat everything in the game. Don't worry about it, ship it. It's fine. It's good enough for...
Look at that. V Prime, Ishtar, Vesper. It's interesting because the amount of these are almost the same-ish. I feel like some of these are like just levels. Yeah, Aphrodite. Yeah, but it's interesting though how they really changed that so much.
Treat everything in the game. Don't worry about it, ship it. It's fine. It's good enough for 1.0. Ship it.
Part 2, Wake Up Tenno.
My name is Rebecca Ford, and my current job title is Live Ops and Community Director.
Back when Rebecca and
title.
Megan were
Community, no, I think it was just
community
intern.
managers.
Okay. So that actually is true. Intern would have been the first one. I started my internship in January of 2011.
Cool. Had you ever worked in the industry before?
I was still in third year of university, so I sort of just came and never left.
Did you finish university?
I did.
Okay.
I did. No one ever asked for proof, but I did. It's true. When I first started, we were finishing The Darkness 2, so that was just sort of at the tail end of development, and I didn't have a role in any of that really. I just kind of came to the studio and figured where I could help. So I was doing like launch parties for the products and just general office things, stuck around, and then Warframe really started becoming a reality in early 2012, so just mentally, and then it really hit the ground in around July, and I knew at that point that this would have been an opportunity, and luckily the people that I worked with felt the same way, so they were like, yes, this will need community support, and I was like, yes, I will do this.
So
and that's how she became community manager?
Nope.
Okay. And when did you figure out that, oh shit, we need a community team?
Probably when we realized we were going to do it all ourselves. Not only do we need community, we probably need to support these people, so I started the support community forums, all that stuff. I think we were so, I don't want to use the word desperate, but I'm kind of going to. We were so desperate for this to work that we wanted to be in the thick of it as this alpha phase was happening. So we wanted to see what the problems were, where the issues appeared to happen for the game, for the bugs, for all these things. And it really just had us glued to our communication outlets, which would have been the forums at the time exclusively, just watching.
Rebecca joined the team and helped in any way she could, even going so far as to voice the character of the Lotus, Warframe's space mom, who guides the player throughout their time in the
You know what's funny is that I think if you're someone that doesn't know, about the community manager and all that stuff, if you don't know like any of the people behind it, I think you would think that the Lotus is just some like, I don't know, I guess you could say some like probably a very experienced voice actor. But then if you actually watch the dev streams and such, you just realize it's just Rebecca's voice. It's just her. That's
game.
awesome.
The closed alpha was launched and the team kept a watchful gaze on feedback. Through emails and forum posts, they zeroed in on what bugs they needed to fix, what powers felt imbalanced, all while adding in new meshes for the Warframes. Warframe needed satisfied players because if this project was going to work, it needed to start supporting the small team that was developing it. They drew inspiration from the success that many niche games were having on Kickstarter and decided to put out a founders pack.
I'll be honest with you, man. Given that the way how the footage looks, how early was this? They said 2012, right? So this has to be like 2012, 2013. Dude, I think at that time, like, it was definitely like the GTX like 870 graphics cards or something like that at that time, I think. Or like this. Oh my god! Just imagine just the amount of that graphics card that was out at that time trying to run this game, especially the way how they wanted it. I think it was kind of too early because it was so grand of like the way how they saw things, but
Package for
good
the
thing they
game.
solved that.
This package would include a bunch of the game's currency, platinum, along with exclusive equipment, forum badges, Warframe sigils, and keys to the upcoming beta. The team had never sold in-game items before, so they had no idea if anyone was going to buy them.
Oh my god, look at the way the UI is so
most optimistic I'd felt, which was when we started our founders program, which was sort of our own Kickstarter version of the game, which was basically you can become a founder of Warframe, and that means that you'll sort of have meant it was successful if it turns out to be that way. And I remember watching real time as the first Grandmaster founder purchase came through, and at that point that was someone spending $250 to support Warframe for what it was at the time. That was like the moment when I realized people care about this game.
People
as much
believe
as
it.
us.
And I remember running into
Bro, imagine $250. Fuck. That's a lot, dude. Just, I'll be honest with you, man. I think at that time was just different because I think if the community today was asking for $250 for our founders, I'll be honest with you. I don't think it would have worked out that well. Maybe, maybe, but that's just crazy because you got to remember this is before like all the significant greed and all that, which like heavy on microtransaction skins and all that stuff. It was technically on the rise, but the way how it is now, I think it would have been massively different back then, like for sure. It would have been massively different if this was like the same idea that happened today. I don't know. I just think that I think they wouldn't really have gone too well. But yeah.
to the office in November and right into the middle of a programmer meeting. They're all talking about problems, and I just burst in the door. We made $1,500 yesterday, and they looked at me. I mean, it's not enough to pay them, right? That's not enough to keep the lights on. But my God, the look of shock on their face that people would actually pay for Warframe,
people are buying it.
Yeah, it was crazy. And what really at that time was the most scary was doing free-to-play and doing it wrong, because we were doing it wrong early on. We were selling power, no customization to speak of really at the time.
Yeah.
We didn't really have a lot at the time except a fun, free, downloadable game that you could shoot and be a ninja in.
Yeah, I remembered about that, yeah, because that was sort of a backwards way to go, because when you essentially sell power to progress as such, it's bad because it essentially makes the game pay to win. It hands down. And I'm glad that they've learned that lesson very early on in the Warframe's life cycle.
Warframe is a game that many consider to be fair free to play, but that wasn't always the case. As the game moved into closed beta, it had a supercharged system that allowed players to double the capacity of their gear. But there was no in-game way of unlocking this system. It was only available if you used real-world cash to unlock it, meaning those who were willing to spend could effectively be double the power of those who weren't.
The reason I don't like the Warframe here leveling up is if I go into this.
Oh wait, that's wicked. Oh shit. I see that guy's videos once in a while. Holy shit, he's damn this man played that game back then. Shit, that's crazy.
There's nothing else to do because I need this upgrade, VtuberEN reactor, and without it, I can't take this Warframe any further. But you've got to use, real money to do that.
We come back to the studio, I think on January 10th, 2013, we took out the pay-to-win-ish things that we realized were horrible. This isn't, and we realized it because the community was like, whether they paid or not, they were hating this thing, and we were like, wow, this really is awful. So out it goes. 2013 starts off with the DNA now slightly, radiated to be fair, free to play.
With the open beta 3 months away, the team was desperately trying to get attention from the press. But
I wonder if they still have these builds of Warframe still. I hope so. Imagine being able to play these ones.
back in 2013, free-to-play was a term that lots of traditional gaming sites were staying clear of. The team was having trouble getting the word out to new players, but their communication with the community was beginning to create a lot of goodwill around this new IP. The growing buzz would eventually catch the attention of PC-focused YouTubers, and it was through that that Warframe got its first big break into the mainstream gaming zeitgeist.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Total Biscuit. I'm here to
Yeah.
ask and answer one simple question. WTF is Warframe? Warframe is a free-to-play co-op third-person action game developed by Digital Extreme.
You know what, man? Rest in peace, Total Biscuit, man. That man died. That man died way too young. And the amount of impact that this man has had to, to some games and such. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. Would Warframe have gone this far if it wasn't for people, individuals like him? I'll be honest with you, man. I don't think so. I don't think Warframe would have gone this far if it wasn't for, for reviewers like Total Biscuit and such. Rest in peace, my man. This man was way too young.
They brought you games such as The Darkness 2, Dark Sector, and they were of course involved pretty heavily in Unreal Tournament and all manner of different things. They've had
In terms of the public gamer consciousness, there was a before that video and an after that video.
Right.
Like, no question in my mind. So, and for me, like, that was very indicative of how important it is to reach this viewership and everything. I don't want to say that in like a needle finger, like, let's get the viewers, 'cause that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say is people love looking around and finding new sources of entertainment.
Oh my god,
So,
look at that recoil, dude.
YouTube is one of those.
certainly potential involved in Warframe, definitely. It's a very high fidelity, obviously kind of AAA quality, free-to-play game. But it, I think, has a long way to go before it can really define itself as absolutely top tier and really have the...
You know what's crazy is that what I just realized is there's no ship. I just realized that there's no ship for you, to walk around to craft or anything like that. That's not even there. I just realized this. Holy shit.
Crazy. It's going to keep people playing for longer than a couple of days.
With more players coming through the door than ever before, the open beta launched on March of 2013, with 8 playable frames and hundreds of bug fixes, quality of life updates and balance improvements. The team was preparing to launch the game on Sony's new console, the PlayStation 4, but that wasn't going to market until November of that year, and free-to-play on consoles was an unproven market. At this stage, Warframe was only available through the basic web portal.
I will agree, yeah. Free-to-play games on the consoles that early on were really exactly that great. I remember playing some of them. I remember playing like Happy Wars. What were the other ones? I think one of them was a Gladiators game. I think it was that one. There were some other ones too. Not Doritos Crash Course. That was more of a something else. But yeah, the free-to-play games didn't really do too great in those games early on.
That the team had set up, so they realized it was probably about time that they turned on a certain valve.
We're we're now at this point where we
Alright.
can tread water and keep trying to build it. But it was really tenuous. It felt go, no go, right? Like, you know, there's laws about if you need to lay people off, you have to give them a severance. And that comes out of this reserve, right? So there's a point where you are really going to screw people over if you go right to the limit. So yeah, it was extremely nerve-wracking.
And it kind of got
They had to lay
its
people
feet
off?
under itself
Damn,
to
that's
support
crazy.
itself, just as, you know, we were running out of money. And so it launched, and we saw it did well. And then it wasn't until we launched on Steam that we knew we were saved, because we knew leading up to the Steam launch it was making enough money to sustain a small team, but we were 250 people. And so it's like we're sweating. It's like, okay, so let's turn on Steam and see how many people we can support.
Okay.
And we turned it on, and it jumped.
I remember every day.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, because when you, I think that was the mistake that Alan Wake 2 did. It's a great example, because when you have this one game that's exclusive on one place, like your own website, right? Like your own website or your own marketplace. Some people don't want to go out of their way to make new accounts or to even go just to a different place, just a different URL. Some people just don't want to do that, which is understandable why. So I think putting it on Steam was a much more better option for them, because just because the amount of people are on it already. There's already millions of people on Steam, so it's a much more better idea to do that, to put your game on that platform. And that's the reason why the Alan Wake 2 hasn't, even though it has sold a lot of copies, I think even to this day it still haven't made back its money that was used or to invest into making that game. And to me, I think they need to put that game on Steam. I bet you anything those sales would double if it goes on Steam, because people are waiting for it to go on Steam. I played it, I played it on the Xbox. It's a great game. I absolutely liked it. But the part is that even though, yes, a lot of people buy their game, even though, yes, a lot of people have Epic Games because of Fortnite or Rocket League or Fall Guys, mainly those three. But doesn't mean people are going to go out of the way to buy their games on those platforms when you already have Steam in itself already there, and also Steam having its own built-in workshop and such things like that if games want to utilize it. And better yet, if you want to use customary mods, like various script extenders and such, you can't use it on you can't really use some of these on the I think the Epic Store is one of them, and also the Windows. For whatever reason that is, I have zero damn clue why they don't make the, I don't know if it's the API or some sort of something. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's supposed to be like the code or something, why they just don't let you do it. But for games to be deeply modified or to be modded, you don't have access to them. So to me, I think that's more of a reason why I stick to Steam, because why would I use Microsoft if I can't mod the game for me to play the game even more? If I can't do that on Epic Games, then why would I stay there too? Steam is pretty much the option. Or better yet, if you're someone that's a true believer of owning your games, you go to GOG. But yeah, anyway.
And I would check our rudimentary stats to see, how much have we made for the previous day, with the hope that at some point it would be enough to maintain the team that we had on it, or at some point it would be enough to maintain the studio. And I don't remember how many days it was that it wasn't. It felt like a really long time, but I really remember the day that we did. Like, I remember waking up in the morning, I'm yelling in the living room. My wife came out, she's just like, what's going on? I'm like, look, Warframes actually can support the studio.
And that was like, oh, okay. Well, now the problem is not just survival. The problem is retention and keeping them coming back and growing the content. And we have one level in the game. Like, let's fix that, that kind of thing. That was a big shift at least in my mind, was when the big Steam audience came.
Warframe was making money.
Oh
a
my
lot
God,
of
look
money.
at that, dude.
Enough that for the first time in 2 decades, the specter of work for hire was no longer giving the executive team nightmares. But Digital Extremes had wandered into...
What is that they're running? Like, what is that? Is that supposed to be like like its own simulators and like the interactions of like the enemies or something like that? Like, I question what that's for.
The problem that Steve had been warned about a year earlier. How was this game going to retain people? Free-to-play is a fickle beast, and while PvP games tend to keep people longer, PvE lives and dies on the amount of content available. Well, it turned out that the studio's biggest financial crutch, their large staff, was now their unfair advantage. Not only did they have 250 more people to work on the game now, but these weren't new hires brought in to help the game grow. These were veterans, folks who had made good video games.
They were there from
colleagues,
the start.
Friends, neighbors, people.
I wonder how many of them were there from the very inception of the company. How many of them were there when they worked on Unreal? How many of them were there when they did Dark Sector? Or how many of them were there when they did the was it the BioShock multiplayer or the Homefront multiplayer? Homefront multiplayer was actually pretty solid, I won't lie to you. But anyway, it's crazy, man. Imagine having to get that one, get a group of people that been there for such a long fucking time and be like, we have to let you go. Dude, that shit's heartbreaking, dude. I get why some people find doing, what would you say? Was a firing, or there's another word for it. I can't think of it. But just having to do that, it's just heartbreaking, man.
People fighting not only for their livelihoods, but for their lives in London, Ontario. Digital Extremes had caught lightning in a bottle, and there was no way the team was going to let Warframe fail. They listened to the community and started adding new stuff immediately.
That year saw clans get added to the game, new Warframes are coming out, there's more places to play, and then we have our sights set on launching on PS4.
We had very humble beginnings with this game. Like I said, it was going to be that kind of Space Ninjas raiding ships, and then we kind of started to see that players liked hanging out in the game. So we started expanding, we started making custom tile sets for each of the enemy factions. We started expanding the enemy faction types, putting tile sets on specific planets to kind of get a better sense of the solar system exploration that we kind of had lightly touched on.
Yeah.
I think certainly when we expanded our customization, that was a huge part of what made people like the game better, just at a visual level. When we redid the melee system and the parkour system, those overhauls were particularly well received.
The movement in Warframe was originally pretty similar to most other third-person action games, running, jumping, and sliding. But a movement exploit known in the community as Zoran coptering allowed players to catapult their frames great distances. It fundamentally changed the way the game was played, but instead of nerfing this
Warframe Copter Tutorial 2015 Noob El Showtech. Of course, they call it Copter. I think this is definitely following the Rafflecopter
exploit. The team saw that the community was trying to tell them something.
Bullet jumping was
you get so far
brought in a way to traverse levels quicker because players really loved what they called coptering, which was the movement was tied to the slide of a weapon. So certain weapons were really good at this because they had a very quick transition time. So they would fling you across the level. And some of these guys got insanely good and could basically traverse some of the biggest tiles in the game in basically one swing. And I was like, well, it's kind of game breaking, but we love that they love the flow of that. So instead of just nerfing that and moving on and going, no, you can't do that, we kind of embraced it and brought it into the core gameplay, but in a more controllable way.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of been the philosophy, is like the community latches onto things for a certain reason.
Absolutely.
Instead of just smacking their hands saying, no, that's not my vision. It's like, how can we embrace that and how can we bring that into the game and not just remove it outright? For the core gameplay, I think it's been an evolution of things that the community has wanted, things that we've wanted, and the marrying of those two things.
Absolutely, because I wanted him to finish. Absolutely, because even though it may not be as efficient or fast as it used to be, it's still something. It is something that is pulled back a bit. However, it is it would it is a implementation of it is a implementation of a new mechanic that is that is pretty much what what this glitch was, or this exploit. But now it has become a home, what do you call it, homebound or homing, recognizable addition in Warframe. So that's the reason why it's so recognizable for Warframe to have bullet jump, and all because it started from an exploit. That's crazy, man. But even that you can't really do some of this as quickly or as efficient, much anymore. Some Warframes I think you can with some mods, but either way, it really brought to life what is it really, I guess you could say, upgraded or brought to life of what Warframe ended up being in the end.
Reading the reaction to the community has been critically important for the success of Warframe.
Are those shield orbs?
Hotfixes will
no, those
come
energy.
sometimes 2-3 times a week, adding new content, fixing bugs, changing the user.
I think it was this one that I remember. Yeah. Got the mini chips. This is the one that I remember seeing when I played this on the Xbox One when it came out. I remember this. I remember this layout. I'll be honest with you. When I did this, I was like, "Bro, what the hell am I doing?" And after a while, when I did some of this, I stopped and I didn't. And I think I came back when they did the star chart rework.
Experience. This balancing act between adding new content and fixing issues the community has is a constant back and forth battle the team has struggled with, and they found that the revenue the game makes from in-game purchases can be matched to how popular the latest content drop is. The better the update, the more players play, the more money the game brings in.
Yeah.
The hardest part about Warframe's life, I think, is the fact that it's clear from that data that Warframe needs to update to stay alive. The longer we don't update, the less people come check out the game, the less people stay in the game. So you have those two competing schools, stay in the game and come play the game. And then you have us, who has this 5-year, now 30 gigabyte behemoth that needs to be updated
now it's even larger
to stay alive.
Right.
So how do you explain to someone that you've been talking to that, we will fix your bug, but we also really need to add this new thing, or people won't come? And they're like, well, stop adding shit. You should.
I've done this bug too. I've done this one before as well. It's actually pretty funny.
Fix it, and you're like, we have to do both.
I literally met an acquaintance I hadn't seen in a while, and he said, I tried playing your game. I opened that screen with all the cards and I thought, I'm not smart enough to play this game, and I didn't play it anymore. Rafe Koster is one of my favorite game designers, and his book Theory of Fun is just like my go-to. He wrote about how many times they changed the new player experience for Star Wars Galaxy, and every time it did not affect their washout rate.
Really?
Yep. Here again, we redid it again. Nope, retention's not any better. We still have this many % of people load it up, play it for a bit, and never come back. And we've done the same, we work on this, and we try to fix those things. We get stats.
The way the tribute was, oh my god.
Data scientists. So.
Why do you think that is?
People are smart. They look at it, they see that complexity, they know, they smell that means.
Oh my god, the way they used to look. Oh my god.
You have to read Wikipedia if you want to min-max it. And
So
they know
old school.
I'm either in for that or I'm out for that. Does this Netflix series have 24 episodes or 10? Right? It's a big commitment to play Warframe. One of the big parts of my job, which is how much time are we going to burn on a new player, and how much time are we going to give to that 1,000-hour player?
One way they've managed to keep
that is a
open
different, that's a
communication with
difficult
the player
juggle.
base was using the power of YouTube and Twitch. Rebecca started a popular developer Q&A stream from the office's canteen.
Dev
We
streams.
are ready to live stream our first.
Oh
dev
my
Q&A.
god. Oh my god. Look how young they all are. Oh my god. I remember seeing a little bit of the early dev streams. It is interesting of how much they've evolved, but the audio, dude, the audio too is like, what are they using? I don't blame them because it is their first time and it's extremely early on of the way how they're doing all this is so cool. I love how they did all this because the way how they did their live streams of they did it as if like they're just social media, social media like influencers and stuff, just talking to you, the community and stuff, like directly instead of just like instead of just fucking blog posts and just videos, pre-recorded videos. Like now, they talk to people live and such. It was amazing. It was amazing. I don't know. I guess I'm so used to this that when I go to other games, I'm just like, who am I supposed to, who am I supposed to see? Who am I supposed to, you know, maybe potentially talk to or something about things with the game, and then, there's nothing. It's not even a face. Who the fuck is behind Apex? Who's behind Call of Duty? Who's behind, all these other games? Nobody knows, man. I don't even know.
For the Warframe community.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Welcome to DevStream 107.
Yay.
This is also our 5th anniversary of dev streams. We have been streaming since the end of February 2013. It is now 2018.
That's insane.
So
Yeah.
if you've
That's not true.
yeah, it is. If you've tuned into all 107, then way to go. You've made it to
That's
more
crazy,
than all
dude.
of us, I think.
They started an annual fan festival called TennoCon, where players of the game travel to London, Ontario to attend panels, hang out, and meet their fellow Tenno. They even created a way for fans to sell their own frames and weapon
Oh, yeah,
skins.
TennoGen.
This program, called TennoGen, has earned some members of the community enough money that they've been able to get off unemployment benefits. They have a partner program where they support 200 content creators who stream and upload videos about Warframe. They have a weekly community show called Primetime, and 2 of Rebecca's community team members, Megan and Danielle, run console-specific streams every week.
Yeah.
They use the Twitch Drops program, which enables players of the game to get free in-game goodies when they watch Warframe streams. Over the course of Warframe's life, this community has grown or
The part that sucks is that I never won any of those, which kind of sucks. Granted, there was a lot of people watching, but I've never won any of those ones, man. It sucks, but it is what it is. But that, man, giving free premium currency, bro. Name me one modern game that has gave you free premium currency. 1,000 platinum, that's like more than $30 or so, or 40 or something like that. That's like $30 or so or $40 or some shit. That's just crazy. It's crazy. I can't think of any, man, where they just gave you the currency for free and shit. And every week they did this. It's crazy, man.
organically. Some play all year, some are newbies, others are returning veterans. But the cycle of players is always tied to new content. So to try and keep things fresh, every once in a while, the team throws a curveball.
What was happening was we were doing our routine, and Warframe's routine is great and it lasts, and it has sometimes, I think it has a saturation point of people needing a pivot for Warframe. So the 2 years prior, the pivot was cinematic quests, right? It came out of nowhere. No one was sitting there saying, I want a story that's going to surprise me. But they were saying, I'm bored. So how do you treat boredom with ambition, right? So you kind of have this repeated scenario where you can see your players are bored. They're asking for stuff. But what they're really saying is they're bored, right? And yes, you can deliver this feedback loop of, okay, we'll buff this Warframe, we'll change that, we'll change these missions, and that matters a shit ton. That matters so much. But to treat the boredom at a different level, you need to shock and awe.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's almost like the things you need to do are A, listen to your community,
Yeah.
and B, not listen to your community.
Well,
give them something.
I'm saying, like, basically, take your vitamins every day, right?
Right.
Like, you will be healthy, you will be happy. It's good for you. It's good for us. But you know, sometimes you need a new flavor, right? So you're still trying to keep the maintenance up of this back and forth relationship, but you need to change things sometimes, because if we had just released a weapon week after week after week after week for the last 5 years, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation.
Right.
What we did do was we continued to release those weapons, but we added cinematic quests, we added Arcwing, we added Lunaro, which turned out no one really plays, which is fine. You're allowed to make mistakes, that's cool, but...
Lunaro? Which one's that one? I can't remember which one Lunaro is.
You need to try.
Is that the PvP?
One of the areas where the team needed to try a lot was the game's economy.
I think so.
The challenge of creating real-world payment shortcuts for the loot grind fell on the shoulders of Sheldon Carter, and it's a responsibility he doesn't take lightly.
The guiding tenet is try not to push them so that they're gonna, grind their face off to get something, but also give them enough variance so that getting those resources is interesting. Despite best intentions, there's always something where we need our community to tell us, hey, this is too hard. We had things with Kavats, one of the pets that came out. It was, too many scans. You had to scan wild Kavats in order to have enough scans in order to incubate a new baby Kavat. And it was just feedback from the community. They're like, hey, this is taking me, is this what you wanted?
I didn't think
Did you want us
Kavats were
to
that much
spend
of a
2
problem,
weeks on
but-
this? No, that's not what we wanted. We wanted you to do
I don't
it.
know.
We want you to have to use the systems we have, but we don't want you to, spend forever. When we first designed Kubros, or myself, when I first came up with the Kubro idea, we wanted people to be...
I'm gonna point this out. Look how in the top right, not all the way at the top right, but where it says apply data or DNA stabilizer. This is how you're able to manage your health to the maximum amount that it can be. You used to be able to do that. I still have some of these stabilizers on my character. It's just crazy how you needed to spend credits to get those stabilizers, so you could just manage the health of your pet. And I believe, I'm not too sure, but I believe that the health went down if they died during a mission or something like that. I don't remember how it fully worked. All I know is that it was a little bit annoying managing the health and all that. I'm glad they got rid of it. I think it was a very old mechanic that needed to go away. And I think same thing with the petting too.
Designed Kubros, or myself, when I first came up with the Kubro idea, we wanted people to be able to change the fur pattern and colors. So we had a lever, basically, for all intents and purposes. It was a button you could push and it'd be like, oh, if you want to pay, I can't remember what it was, so much platinum, you can change the color. And then you could take an imprint of that, you could trade it to someone else. So it wasn't, we're trying to give you a way to you could get something cool and then you could give it to your friends. And we saw, a guy pulled the lever 200 times. And it's just like, oh my dear God, what have we done? We've made, we've created a slot machine.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, it was a couple days. I think it took us to take it out, a day and a half. That one is a big regret. Obviously, that was insanely profitable for someone to be doing that, but that's not what our design intent, and that's not what the intent of the game is. So that's why it was, that's why we changed it. When you're dealing with something that does have a
That's crazy, dude, because I cannot imagine. That's something that a lot of people bring up, is that they accidentally made a slot machine that got someone to spend 200 times. Let's say that 200 times, bro. 200 polls, essentially, to re-roll the skin patterns, probably the color and all that. Dude, that is crazy. I could not imagine someone that did that, right? That did that, and what is it? Someone that did that, and the devs thought, this is a big problem. We have to get rid of this, because essentially, yes, someone could have got ultra rare skins and such, or maybe a set. all because it's a very very low drop chance and such. But it's just crazy to think about how that they saw this and immediately thought this needs to be removed from the game. This has got to go. We got to rework this. That's crazy, man. Never have I seen any game do this. Hell, I've seen other times too that whenever there's some sort of system that has something similar to this, if it's not beneficial for the company, either they nerf it or they remove it entirely. Mainly nerf it. Even nerf it to the ground where it's like it's just no point anymore. Or better yet, if it's something monetizable, they'll just keep it there. But never to the point where that if it comes to the expense of the player, opening their wallet, spending an X amount of money, for them, for digital extremes, they cared because they changed it, they removed it. But for others, bro, show this shit to EA, they're gonna be like, "Why'd you do that?" It's yeah. Try showing companies like that, man. They're gonna be like, "Why the fuck are you what are you doing? What? Excuse me? Well, what? Why? Why'd you do that?" But because they care.
Kind of a cash component. You have to really be
And what's
careful.
up with those
Of
logs?
course, that would be cool in a game where there was none of that, where you were just putting in earned money into it. But as soon as you put it as a premium currency and people can just go, oh, what can I get? Oh, I got the gold one. Amazing. How much can I sell that to other people for? And you're like, oh God, can't do that.
Yeah.
I've spent the past few months playing this game, watching YouTube videos, tuning into streams, all to try and get a sense of what exactly it is about Warframe that hooks people.
There's the moment-to-moment, the movement, the aiming, shooting, the inner loop. Then there's the outer loop of abilities, and then there's progression outside of that. But I don't think these mechanics alone account for why players find themselves attached to Warframe. I think a lot of it has to do with the bizarre universe that the game is set in. When the team originally designed this game, Mike Brennan, the lead artist at that time, didn't pull his sci-fi inspiration from Hollywood. Instead, he looked towards Europe and the work of acclaimed French cartoonist Moebius. Then there's the story of this game, a mix of unfinished ideas Steve had that has evolved over the years.
The art is so interesting.
Then there's the movement of the game, which came from a weird bug. The lore of the game, the design of the biomes and tile sets, all of this came from ideas the team had later, built atop the humble foundations of that early prototype.
I don't know if any of you guys caught this, but why isn't there an ability on the arsenal for Slash, Radio Dash, and Radio Javelin, but Excalibur has Super Jump? Obviously, this is way before the bullet jump and such, but I can't believe that was an ability. Super Jump? Yeah, this is definitely before they came out with the Exalted Blade for sure.
As the team had later, built atop the humble foundations of that early prototype. What this all has led to is that the game looks and plays like no other video game. Warframe is a weird looking game. It's as beautiful as it is bizarre.
Hate him, dude.
And I think that's the surprise element that hooks Warframe players.
We do deliberately put a twist on everything we put into the game, whether it's even just as simple as the terminology. We have scarves in the games, but we don't want to call them scarves, call them sandanas. And it's kind of the same thing with the way we approach the sci-fi angle. We have our Corpus, who are kind of the heavy tech enemy faction, but Steve did this really cool thing where he said, well, they're kind of they treat greed as a religion. And that kind of is a really great inspiration for how you kind of visualize that faction, and you can kind of bring in, you can kind of get a bit wacky, as we like to say, with kind of the design of this. We don't really have a lot of.
Can you imagine if they made Corpus as a response to the greed of some gaming publishers? Dude, that'd be great if they said that. That would have been glorious. Because if you see some of the lore of like the Corpus and all that stuff, especially what's that guy the dictator from well, actually no, technically he's from other places as well, but the from Fortuna, especially that one guy. I forget his name, but yeah, like we see the way how he is. Yeah. God, what the hell is his name? But anyway, yeah, that guy is literally the epitome of greed in Fortuna. God, he's so annoying.
Of restraint for how far we push things in Warframe. It's really fun actually as a result.
And even down to like vocabulary that's used. Like you don't just use the word like cat for your like cat looking.
No, it could not be a cat.
All right.
It's a kavad, of course. That's one thing that we like try. Like there is no internal gospel of Warframe, but if there was, one version of it would have the entry of give everything a Warframe name.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see how that happened over time. Like early on, we had one of our amazing programmers naming our weapons. Like the sniper was just called the Snipetron, and it still is. Like that's still in game. But now you see like names that are appropriate for each faction, and like the Corpus names are Plasmor and like really sort of techie sounding, and then the Grineer ones are like the Stubba and the Stug and like just like more visceral sounding. And that was an evolved language dialect over time. I think it's a weird organic sci-fi world that is distinct to Warframe. Like that's it, and that art style definitely was the original draw for people to check it out, and it has been the reason that a lot of people stick around. And the uniqueness of each character and the level of customization of those characters, like these things are weird, and they are good weird.
The thing that I really like about how it's evolved is it's a very strong aesthetic.
Yeah.
And it's a very divisive aesthetic. You get people who love it, and I've seen comments where people, they try to play the game, but they can't get past the art. And in a way, I kind of prefer that. I like that we make a strong statement versus just being something that's kind of a bit more vanilla.
I'm starting to figure out that perhaps what looked like maybe a barrier to entry is also maybe your like unfair advantage, is that you have this very idiosyncratic or very like unique world that once people are sort of in on, then they feel really they belong to it.
I think you're entirely correct. That is absolutely, because when we first started making Warframe, my background, as I mentioned, is more on the art side, and my directive to the guys was make whatever you want. Like, let's just make sure we do the free-to-play right. You make what you're excited about. And so our art director,
it's interesting they give him
monumentally
that
talented.
inspiration.
He just wanted to make what he loved.
Or
and
direction.
I'm seeing it as like, oh, like that's it's a little different. And then, but I'm like, yeah, do whatever you want. Do whatever makes you happy. Like, do what you are passionate about, which is a clear advantage, I think, for Warframe itself, is the passion of the team. Yeah, but I think you're right. In the end, it's different, and it's different enough that it appeals to a certain crowd, and they get in there, and that's the world, and it's a unique world.
Interesting.
Warframe's world continues to evolve. There are communities of players within the game who write wiki articles on how best.
There is something I want to point out, but have you noticed that that the duration, efficiency, and strength is they all say power duration, power efficiency, power range, power strength. I'm so glad they got rid of that shit.
Continues to evolve. There are communities of players within the game who write wiki articles on how best to min-max your frames.
It could be because he's on Conclave,
communities
but
of pet
I don't know.
fanatics. There are speedrunners, lore enthusiasts, and of course there are communities of people who just want to look good. The joke in the community is that since Warframe doesn't really have an end game, the end game is simply making the sickest looking frame you can. Something the community calls fashion framing. Last year Warframe received its biggest update yet, the Plains of Eidolon, an open map for players to traverse, complete with quests to complete.
That lets you know how old this is.
It's a wonderful step in an exciting new direction for Warframe, but perhaps it's not a new direction. Perhaps it's a step back 18 years to an idea for an MMO called Dark Sector that never came to pass.
I think you could easily make a case for we're on Warframe 3. You know, like if this was a traditional cycle, I'd say what was there in 1, the things that are there are you are the Space Ninja, but God, I mean, there's Tenno now. You can play out in open landscapes. It was a corridor shooter. You can fly around, you know, you were grounded. The amount of weapons, I mean, the game has just constantly evolved, and it's still evolving.
Yeah, that's the evolution of the game.
A lot of fly by the seat of our pants, It's a lot of like building the tracks as we're racing down, barreling, you know, towards it. You know, we have a destination in mind. When we're going to get there, we're not exactly sure, but there's definitely long-term goals, but a lot of the short-term stuff is kind of, you know, made up as we go.
It's not always an easy 5 years, and
Man, he looks like he's about to
it's
cry.
the best 5 years of my life, no matter what. Like I'm not saying this is grim or anything, but to have a community that feels listened to is probably, I feel like it's a part of my life that I'm very proud of, but I also understand that not everyone always feels listened to in every industry, in every game.
I just noticed that they all use like Dell, like what is it, Dell, like monitors. I'm like, you couldn't guide yourself like an Asus or any of the other ones out there. You know, not an Asus monitor what's the other one? I'm thinking like a Corsair or a ROG or or some of the other ones that are out there. No, they're just Dell monitors.
And it's really, you know, it's really something special that I hope we can continue to do well.
Warframe is what it was, and now it's grown in a really, really interesting way that was super compelling to the fans. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more of that kind of stuff coming. So it'll be really interesting to see how the game evolves and what it becomes, because it's with so many people working on it and with such an expandable concept for a game, or expandable premise. Who knows where it could go, but it'll become bigger and really, really interesting.
The thing I'm most proud of with Warframe is the change, and is the castle built on those ruins. Like, we added fishing to the damn game, right?
Yeah.
So we can get back almost to those completely infeasible dreams we had with the MMO Warframe, or well, it was called Dark Sector back then, but we can get back to those ideas and try kind of more weird things.
Yeah. Over 38 million people have played Warframe. Since the launch of Plains of Eidolon, the average concurrent players has broken 100K. We believe this accounts for around half of the Warframe's concurrent players. Yeah. You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me when Rebecca say, what she say? She said she said 40 million losers or some shit. I'm like, my God, yeah. In 2014, Digital Extreme sold a majority stake to 2 Chinese companies, which I think they don't. I'm pretty sure they're not part of anymore. I think they shut down and such. One of those companies, Perfect World Entertainment, specializes in publishing free-to-play games. The studios no longer takes work for hiring contracts. Yeah. It's crazy, man.
The Plains of Eidolon, the site of a historic battle between the Orokin and a great sentient. These plains
And that's it. Yeah, it's just gameplay. It's great, man. It's great overall. Everything that was shown here of Warframe, you know. Yeah, the gameplay, but yeah, it's just crazy to me of like how old this documentary is, of how much even then the game has evolved and changed and such, especially from the Taviri paradox and the what was the other thing too, the new war and such. Hell, you know what's even crazier is that kind of shortly after this, but a little bit later, I would say about a year or two, that's when they've done the railjack. Man, who would ever thought that there would be a point in time that they would have gone out of the way to be like, oh yeah, now the game's gone from linear, you know, to open maps, you know, to flying around in space in an arc wing, and to the point that you're able to be you could fly a fucking your own, your own battleship. Like, I'm pretty sure they would have never thought that you're able to do that later on. Imagine telling them, now that things are available now, and then telling that to the past selves, they'd be like, no way, they wouldn't believe it. But overall, man, the recording's almost going for an hour. Either way, to me, it doesn't really matter how long it really goes, because this documentary is so interesting, and just seeing how much that, for one, how old it is, and two, how much the game has changed, and three, how much the game had. Well, I mean, if I guess evolved is technically kind of falls into two, but of how much that even after all this time, the game is still heavily loved. People still come back to the game whenever anything happens. And it's awesome, because I do the same thing too. I jump back in the game whenever I feel like it. If there's something to do, I'll go and do it. If there isn't much, then I'll just play something else for a while. And that's just, that's what I do for the game. And so I'm so glad that even after all this time, the game still gets all that love and such, because the developers show that love. They give that love as well. And it's crazy, because even after all this time, that it feels much more authentic, because we've seen from the beginning, or from like the start, and from the way how it is now, especially for me, for someone who has played the game for a long time now. And I don't even know how many weeks I have in the game and such. I looked at it. I think it said it was close to like a month or something like that. But but either way, I'm glad I rewatched this documentary. It's very, very good. I know that there's I did see another video. I guess you could say like an update one for I think it's with Rebecca. Um, I'm pretty sure of her being the I think it's the lead designer, or something like that. She's pretty much calling the shots of, like, I think she's the director or something like that for where the game's gonna go now. Which kind of, I'll be honest with you, it's a very interesting direction of where Rebecca's going, because who was the one that was part of it? I think it was Sinclair. Maybe, I'm not too sure. Um, but it is interesting that if, for people who don't know, when they did the Jade, the what is it called, the Jade something, um I'm forgetting what it's called. It's like Jade something. I remembered it earlier. Fuck. But when they did that, I thought it was very strange. When they made a pregnant Warframe, I thought that I swear to God, I thought that shit was so strange. I thought it was interesting, but I thought it was strange, because I'm like, you do know that this feels the R34 community of being able to have pregnant Warframes. I mean, technically that was there, but that kind of reinforces it more, you know. But either way, I thought what that story content was actually pretty interesting. And honestly, one of my only gripes with the latest Warframe stuff is that the characters, the main characters, the characters now are saying like cuss words and things like that, which I don't really like that much, because I like them more when, even though it sounds like they're saying vulgar words, but kind of sounds like kind of saying it in their own language, which I kind of like that more. But I don't like how they're saying, they're saying fuck, or they're saying, they're saying that and such, which, to me, when you kind of see like the older stuff, when they're kind of going with their own words and such, or making up their own slang and their own words and stuff, it kind of, and then they kind of, and it's kind of the real life language, I guess you could say, in terms of vulgarness and such, is sort of seeping into like the core and Warframe. I don't really like that. I actually kind of dislike it a little bit. But maybe that's just me. Maybe others like it, but anyway, enough rambling. Even though I mean, with all that, made this shit go over an hour. But anyway, well, thank you so much for watching. It's a great documentary. Um, And I hope you guys have a good day. This is Wang Chung 928, and you can find me at twitch.tv Wang Chung 928. And I'll be streaming later today. This will be uploaded in a little bit. You will find me later on around maybe 4ish, 4:30. It depends if we're gonna react to another one. Maybe I'll react to the update to the what is it with I believe is with Rebecca, I believe. Um but we'll see. We'll see what I think. All right then. Have a good one, and all of you have a good day. God damn it. Anytime when I just leave the mouse or sit for a minute, it just turns off. All right then. Bye bye.